Welcome to Airsoftology Tuesday Tips and Tricks, the show that answers your questions, gives you some tips, and also explains to you what an Airsoft Hangover is. Shh, don't talk too loud. I'm your host, Jonathan Higgs, and guys, I am back from the weekend playing at Operation Ironclad, American Milsim event in Hattiesburg, Mississippi at Camp Shelby. Had a lot of fun out there. It was screaming hot, a little over 90 degrees all day long in the sun. I mean, the weather is beautiful, but when you're out there humping it around, it is toasty. So yeah, had that Airsoft Hangover thing going on. If you guys don't know what Airsoft Hangover is, it's kind of one of those things that my buddies and I have kind of coined as a term. It's just that feeling you get when you get back and you're just drained. I mean, 2 days of playing, you're just, everything is zapped 100% out of you. You've given it all, you've laid it on the field, and you just take like 2 days to recover. It's also part of, thank goodness you guys can't see what's off camera here, the pile of stuff I have in my room right now that still needs to get put away where it belongs after the op. I mean, it's kind of trashed, to put it lightly. But you know what? That's the price you pay when you have a chance to go play these great games. I had a ton of fun out there seeing everybody I know. I saw Dan and Bob from Airsoft GI, big shout out to you guys. Jim from KWA and Ian from KWA, you may know him as Iron Man. Also saw Matt and Jet from EVIC. Well, Matt from EVIC and Jet, of course, you guys know Jet and Desert Fox. And a ton of other people out there. I mean, more than I can count. Had so much fun hanging out. And if you guys, I know we get a lot of questions about Milsim Ops. If you've never played one and you are of age, you can get out and do one of these. I think this was even a 16 and up game here in Hattiesburg. You guys have got to get out there. It's not just about the gameplay. It's about the camaraderie and the fun and just getting out on the field and playing. And trust me, I know it sounds scary if you've never done one before. It's daunting. It's not. Just get out there, pack up everything. I mean, you can only learn by doing. I mean, you can sit behind a computer all you want. You'll still never figure it out until you get out there and have the fun. But on that note, stay tuned. I actually did get some pretty good footage. Actually, the direct action mission, I'll have a series of videos with that coming up soon. Pretty happy about it. Also had a chance to run the Evo A3 out there until somebody drop kicked it. Not lying, I actually set it down. I was actually using my sniper rifle, taking some long shots. I hear a punt and it's like 6 feet away from where I set it. Thank goodness, externally it held up. Got a little bit of tweak in there on the hop-up chamber, nothing I can't fix. But aside from it being punted, it worked fantastic. I was so happy to get out there and play with it. After that, I switched over to the Ares Amoeba, the 013. You guys may know it as the Honey Badger. I had it over here on the side a couple videos ago. You guys were wondering about it. So I have footage of playing with the Honey Badger as well. A lot of that was indoors though, so I only have a little bit, but I did get the chance to use it in my direct action mission. Both those guns got some great kills with them. Also, if you guys look way back, I think right here on the camera, you'll see the tornado grenade. It got a lot of action. I think I only got one of my kills on video, unfortunately, but I have a newfound respect for tornado impact grenades. But enough about what we have coming up. Let's get into your questions. Red Viper Airsoft writes, Dear Jonathan, what M4 MidCap would you recommend besides PMags? Thanks. Yeah, there are a lot of great mid-caps out there, but you know what? I've got another question that follows up, so let's get that one in, and I'll get both you guys bundled up here into one. Sean Phillips writes, Hey Jonathan, I was hoping to run mid-caps and saw some 190 round mid-caps and wanted to know whether I should buy those since they are the highest rounds I can find in a mid-cap. So, I want to know, should I get those or go for more common 120 or 140 round mid-cap? Thanks. All right, I wanted to lump both of these questions in together because they kind of relate. Let's first address that 190 round question, get that one out of the way. I found in the higher capacity mid caps, you end up dealing with jamming issues, meaning that as that spring compresses, it puts more and more pressure on the actual hop-up chamber. So have you fill that thing up with 190 rounds, it's gonna either jam up because it's pushing the BBs too hard into the hop-up chamber, or you'll get double or triple feeds as the air nozzle pulls back to allow what normally would be one round going into the hop-up chamber, it would load 2 or even 3. So typically I stay away from those. S-Arms, however, made a really good one, around $20 retail a piece, metal. I think they were 170 or 190 round mid caps. If you can still find those are really good. Just short load them. Don't fill them all the way up. So if they're 190, fill them about 170, 160, and you'll be good to go. When it comes to other brands, there are a lot of fantastic ones. I've used these for years, and I finally retired them. The Mag brand mid caps, they feed in most guns. I've had a few compatibility issues with these. I only have a couple left because I've left these full and packed them away and killed the springs in them over time. I've got a couple left, but these things are over 5 years old. They've held up really well for me. Also, I'll tell you right now, a great set if you're in for a budget, kind of a balancing budget and performance. The Elite Force mid-caps are awesome. I've been having great luck with in almost every gun I've loaded these in. Really, really happy with these, and I think they're around 60, 50, 60 somewhere dollars for a box of 10. So you're looking at like $5 or $6 a mag, which isn't bad at all. I mean, you're talking about if you lose one of these, it's not the end of the world, and you're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I lost a ton of money. Now, if you wanna go ultra premium, I tell you the KWA K120s are good. I found they fit and feed in quite a few guns, had really good luck with those. If you can find the Magpul PTS, not the green label ones, they were okay, but I really found the Magpul PTS, the premium ones, the orange box, were really good. And then this guy, you've probably seen me run it and talk about it. In fact, I've got a review. I'll put a link right here for you guys if you want to watch the review of the Magpul EPM, the Enhanced Polymer Mag. This is definitely the ultra premium mid-cap out there right now. Really love it. I used it this weekend at Operation Ironclad as well as my Elite Force mids. They both performed great in the Amoeba. They also work great in VFC guns. They work great in the Crytac. So they really seem to work across almost every platform. The Echo 1 guns as well, they work great in. So if you want to buy a mag that's going to fit in most guns, these are some safe bets between this and the Elite Force ones or those K120s from KWA. But yeah, if you guys want to step up to the top end, this one, and my budget pick is definitely the Elite Force mids. Matt McCarthy writes, hey John, would you ever loan out a $400 or $500 gun to a friend who's interested in trying out Airsoft? Me, personally, I do hand out guns, and I'll tell you why, it's the exception to my normal rule. I like to hand out a lot of guns and get experience, especially if they're review guns, to get other people's takes on them. A lot of times my opinion isn't just always the best one. I like to hear other people's opinions of guns, especially if I get a hold of something new or a prototype or something that's not out there in the market yet. I do like to pass those around. Now, as a general rule, my personal guns, I would definitely say no. Even though they are your good friends and these are people you really know and you want them to get a chance to play with something really, really cool, I would definitely say not. No one's gonna treat your stuff as well as you do. In my experience, when I have loaned out guns, especially personal ones that are like my go-to, like Grab It and like my 4CRS that I take almost everywhere, yeah, it just, you end up with problems and repairs or it gets beat to crud. Just no one's gonna treat that like the way you do. So I would probably say stay away from loaning guns. I've never seen a good experience. If you do wanna loan guns, get a cheap one you can have as a backup and toss that one out, something you're not too worried about getting destroyed or broken. But as a rule, I wouldn't do it. That's just my personal opinion. Not to be mean, but just the odds of something getting destroyed and not getting taken care of correctly is pretty high. David Lacroix writes, MOSFET question, I bought a Crytek CRB and wanted to get the King Kong Burst Wizard 2, but the owner of my field said that using a burst MOSFET required a short stroke piston and at least a 130 spring. My question is, do I upgrade my gun before installing this or plug it to play like the Burst Wizard advertises? Okay, so usually I'm not so adamant about, hey, someone is totally wrong, but in this case, you are getting a lot of misinformation there. There's no need to short stroke your gun and put a 130 spring and chop it and block it and do all that. That's advanced tech stuff, and that's really getting into modifying your gun way outside the warranty and really way outside what you even need. For example, you're talking about the Crytek CRB. I got the thing right here in my hand. Definitely, you don't need to do that. I would leave it bone stock. If you want to upgrade your spring to your field limits, that's perfectly fine. But as for the internals, don't touch them. On the CRB, it is a unique situation. It actually already has a MOSFET on it. So that does put it in a unique spot. I looked at the Burst Wizard. It looks like it shouldn't cause any compatibility issues with that MOSFET on board as long as you use the plug and play one, the one that goes in line between the battery and the gun. You shouldn't have any challenges there. But don't do anything where you're gonna wire it into the trigger assembly because there already is a MOSFET in this gun. Now in any other gun, it's no problem. You can get the wire in ones, you can get wire in MOSFETs, things like that. Just the unique situation is because this has a standard MOSFET that is built into the mech box itself, just use that plug and play one and you should be pretty good to go. It shouldn't be any challenge getting it, just plug it in, run and go. And you can tune that thing. In fact, King Kong, the people that make the Burst Wizard, have really good instructions on how to set the burst length and all that on it. So yeah, throw it in. You should be just fine. No problem at all. Well guys, that's it for questions this week. Again, I always have so many I can't get to, but if you want to have yours on the show, it's really simple. Just simply put it in the comment section below. Make sure to thumbs up the one you like down there if you have some that you want to see answered on the next show. Also, if you guys don't want to do it here, or you don't want to set up a YouTube account, you can do it on the Facebook page as well at facebook.com/Airsoftology, or of course you can PM to me, but I do prefer to have them kind of public so I can see the interest and see them thumbsed up. And speaking of answering questions, it's time for tech tips. Bravo 1 Charlie writes, how can I clean a MidCap that can't be opened from the bottom to remove the spring? So I figured since we were on the topic of MidCaps, this would be a great tech tip for you guys. First off, to answer the question of the ones you can't open, if you guys aren't familiar with all the different types of MidCaps, I don't have one that's like that, but I'll be able to show you exactly what you need to do. On most MidCaps, like this is an Elite Force one right here, and on the mag ones as well, you're gonna have this too. At the bottom of the plastic MidCap, you'll see there's a little circle here with a slot on it. That's actually a little door. You can put a flathead screwdriver in it, twist it, and it's gonna allow the spring to come out. So just kind of be careful because the spring will fly off into the distance. And you can pull the spring out, and the spring inside of these usually snake around up and down to fill it full of BBs. So it's kind of like a big S inside of these things. So you'll be able to pull that spring out, do any cleaning, and in fact you can even clean the tube by putting a little bit of like canned air and just blowing through and helping getting the debris out of the inside channel with the spring removed. And then you can put the spring and the follower back in, the follower being the part that you see here at the top when the mag's empty, and put it back together, no problem at all. In fact, when you have this apart, I would put maybe a couple drops of silicone oil, one, maybe two on the actual mag spring itself, and then pat it dry with a paper towel. Anytime you introduce silicone oil inside of a magazine, you're going to put that on the BBs, which is going to affect your hop up. In fact, it's going to kill your hop up for a little while until that oil evaporates. So I would just make sure to clean it, be careful about how much you lube these things. Now, if you have some that are messed up, totally hosed, they're jamming on you, and you really want to get them clean, I do have a trick that'll work, but it just requires some patience and it takes some time. And again, it will render your hop up inoperable for a little while because the BBs are going to be coated with silicone oil. So what you'll do is you'll get a MidCap speed loader. So like one of these little guys right here, like this Marui one, or you can get really any brand one out there. The big ones work. I like the small ones because you're only gonna use a few BBs. So you're gonna really kind of be careful about this. So what you'll do is, if you look in these, this one holds like 100 rounds and I've got it full. Actually, I was using this with my sniper rifle, so I've got .40s in here, but you'll fill it about halfway is what I do. And I'll put a drop or two of silicone oil in this speed loader. Now you want to mark the speed loader because once you do this, you're not going to want to use this speed loader for anything else pretty much anymore because it's going to have silicone oil inside of it, or until you clean it out really, really, really well. So about half full of BBs, put a couple drops of silicone oil, and then I shake it up. So what that does is it gets that oil evenly spread across those BBs. And you're gonna wanna keep in mind just the speed loader, just those BBs. And so what you'll do is you'll take it once you have it all set up, you'll do the old, get it ready, and you're gonna fill up your MidCap. And you're gonna fill your MidCap up with that silicone oil. So you're gonna put those BBs in, it's about half of this, so about 45. Now obviously that's not enough to fill up a mag like this, it's 140 rounds. So once it's full, go ahead and get a good speed loader with dry BBs and fill it the rest of the way up. You want to top this thing off. Now the concept behind that is you're putting some silicone covered BBs, and as they work their way through this and snake their way through, it's putting a little bit of silicone oil throughout the channels all the way through. Now also what you're doing is, because you're leaving that on there, it will transfer to your fresh BBs. So that's why I like to put some dry BBs behind it. So once it's full, you're going to want to empty this, but because the BBs, the first ones you put in that have silicone oil and even the dry ones behind them now are contaminated, you're going to want to dispose of these. I actually will recycle them. So I'll actually clean multiple magazines with those same BBs and I'll unload them into like a plastic baggie, like a Ziploc bag. But if not, you can actually just toss them and get some fresh ones, depending on how many BBs you have. So just go ahead and unload them, and then you'll have your extras like I have here. So once you have that done, you'll actually set your mag out and just kind of let it sit and evaporate. Sometimes I'll blow a little compressed air in there, like canned air, just to help the evaporation process of the silicone oil. But if you have a lot of BBs sitting around and you really are trying to bring these things back to life, they've had a lot of jamming problems, let's say, I'll actually fill them up with plain BBs, no silicone oil in these, speed load them all the way, fill them up, and then drain them into the trash can, and do that 2 or 3 times. It'll help get the excess silicone oil out. And again, no matter what, you're always gonna have a little bit, maybe the next time you shoot it, your hop up may not be as effective. You'll see them kind of drop off just because it's gonna transfer some of the oil. But after a couple fills and empties, you're gonna get the excess silicone out of this and your mag is gonna be back up and running. So it's just one of those little tips. It does take some work, it's labor intensive, and you may end up, depending on how many mags you're going through, half a bottle or even a full bottle of BBs to do a full maintenance. And this is something you don't want to do all the time. I mean, this is something I do about once a year, is do a full maintenance on my MidCaps. If I'm playing a lot of games, like heavy milsim events, back to back, I'll maybe do this twice a year at the most. But normally I don't like to mess with these too much until they start to give me trouble. But to help you out, that's a good way to breathe some life into some old MidCaps that are causing you trouble that you can't open up from the bottom. So I hope that trick will help you breathe some life back into some old MidCaps that have maybe died out on you. Now, it's not gonna fix if you've left BBs in this thing for too long and you've killed the spring. It's not gonna fix that issue, but it will fix some of those issues where BBs get kind of caught halfway and you gotta smack it a couple times to get them to pop loose. Typically, that's gonna fix those issues and get your MidCaps up and running again. Well guys, that's it for tech tips, and you know what time it is? It means it's time for the video recommendation of the week, and this one, slightly self-serving, but not really. It's the Moments of Insurgency video from Jet. He actually records our Joint Task Force Friends video series. We play Insurgency on community nights, which are about once a month. We actually publish them on all of our pages if you guys want to join in and grab Insurgency, the game. I know you probably heard me talk about the game before. Love it. It's probably the closest thing to Airsoft. But some of the stuff that happens is just ridiculous. It's off the chain and we act like idiots all night long playing the game. A little serious, but mainly just fooling around and having fun. So yeah, check it out. It's actually the Moments of Insurgency, the most recent one from the community night, but he has a whole series of it. It's an ongoing one. And the opening audio is worth it in and of itself. We recorded it. It's terrible. So bad. Anyway, so check it out. It's a great video. It's fun. And so the next one will be in October. I'm not sure if we put up a date yet of when the next Insurgency gameplay night's going to be, but once it does, I'll let you guys know here on this show so you'll be aware. So guys, again, thanks for watching the show. Also, if you want to help support the show, check out the Patreon page right over here and you can help support the show and get some cool stuff in return, including like exclusive videos, things like that. Also, if you guys have a question, don't forget, right down below is where it needs to go, or on the Facebook page. I'll try to start posting over there and asking for your questions when I publish the weekly video. But until then, go out, have fun, play some Airsoft, but no matter what you do, call your freaking hits.